Here's a list of 20 of the worst tragedies and downfalls experienced by child stars from the golden age of Hollywood and the classic television era, roughly 1920s to 1960s. These stories range from tragic deaths to heartbreaking struggles with addiction, mental health, and the pressures of fame. It's a sobering look at the dark side of child stardom. Judy Garland rose to fame as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, but behind the scenes, her life was anything but magical. MGM pressured her into using amphetamines and sleeping pills to control her weight and energy, starting a lifelong struggle with addiction. She faced constant scrutiny over her appearance, endured emotional manipulation by the studio, and was overworked from a young age. Garland's adult life was marked by financial troubles, failed marriages, and deteriorating mental health. Despite her incredible talent and enduring legacy, she was never able to escape the trauma of her youth in Hollywood. Tragically, she died of an accidental drug overdose in 1969 at just 47 years old, leaving behind a haunting legacy of child stardom's dark side. Bobby Driscoll was one of Disney's first major child stars, known for roles in Song of the South and as the voice of Peter Pan. At just 9, he became the face of innocence and adventure. But when puberty hit, Disney dropped him, and his once bright career vanished. Struggling to find work and cope with rejection, Driscoll turned to drugs and petty crime. He spent time in jail and drifted into obscurity. In 1968, his body was found in an abandoned building in New York. He was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave, unidentified for over a year. Once beloved by millions, Bobby died alone at just 31, a tragic symbol of how Hollywood can chew up and discard its young stars. Carl "Alfalfa" Switzer became a household name in the 1930s as the freckle-faced troublemaker in The Little Rascals, Our Gang. His iconic cowlick and off-key singing made him a fan favorite, but stardom didn't last. As he aged, roles disappeared, and he struggled to find steady work. Switzer took on odd jobs, including bartending and dog training, to make ends meet. His personal life was troubled, marked by legal issues and financial instability. In 1959, at just 31, he was shot and killed during a heated argument over a $50 debt. His tragic and violent death stood in stark contrast to the innocence of his childhood fame, serving as another heartbreaking example of the dark side of early Hollywood stardom. Dana Plato rose to fame in the late 1970s as Kimberly Drummond on the hit sitcom Diff'rent Strokes. Audiences loved her as the sweet, wholesome daughter, but behind the scenes, she struggled with the pressures of fame from a young age. After leaving the show, her life spiraled downward. She battled drug and alcohol addiction, lost custody of her son, and was arrested for robbery. Attempts at a comeback, including posing for Playboy and appearing on reality TV, failed to revive her career. In 1999, just one day after a radio interview discussing her struggles, Dana died of a drug overdose at age 34. Her death was ruled a suicide, making her one of several tragic stories from the Diff'rent Strokes cast. Anissa Jones became a beloved child star in the late 1960s for her role as Buffy on Family Affair. With her adorable looks and trademark Mrs. Beasley doll, she quickly captured the hearts of viewers. But when the show ended, Anissa struggled to adjust to life outside the spotlight. Offers for roles stopped, and she faced deep emotional challenges. Without proper guidance or support, she fell into drug use during her teen years. Tragically, at just 18 years old, Anissa died from a massive drug overdose at a house party in 1976. Her death shocked fans and became a heartbreaking example of a child star lost too soon, overwhelmed by fame, neglect, and a system that failed to protect her. Rusty Hamer was one of television's most popular child stars in the 1950s, playing the lovable Rusty Williams on Make Room for Daddy. Known for his comedic timing and charm, he was a natural on screen. But after the show ended, Rusty found it nearly impossible to transition into adult acting roles. As opportunities vanished, he battled depression and feelings of failure. Despite attempts to live a normal life working outside the industry, he struggled with his mental health for years. In 1990, at the age of 42, Rusty died by suicide. His death deeply impacted fellow child stars and helped bring attention to the emotional toll early fame can take when the spotlight fades and the support system disappears. Margaret O'Brien was one of the most celebrated child actresses of the 1940s, winning hearts with her emotional performance in Meet Me in St. Louis. She received a special Juvenile Academy Award and was known for her remarkable ability to cry on cue. But as she grew older, Hollywood lost interest. Roles dried up, and the transition to adult acting proved difficult. Though she didn't fall into the tragic patterns of many child stars, Margaret later spoke candidly about the emotional impact of being forgotten so suddenly by the industry. She described struggling with identity, purpose, and the challenge of adjusting to life beyond fame. Her story reflects a quieter, more personal kind of loss, fame fading without warning or support. Jay North rose to fame as the mischievous but lovable star of Dennis the Menace in the late 1950s. While he appeared cheerful on screen, behind the scenes, Jay endured a much darker reality. Raised by a single mother, he was placed under the strict control of his aunt and uncle, who emotionally and physically abused him throughout filming. He was isolated from other children and denied a normal childhood. After the show ended, Jay struggled with depression and PTSD, later revealing the deep trauma he carried from his years in the spotlight. Though he eventually found peace working outside the entertainment industry, his story is a sobering reminder of how child stars can suffer greatly behind their carefully crafted public image. Jackie Coogan became a sensation in the 1920s after starring alongside Charlie Chaplin in The Kid, one of the earliest and most iconic child performances in film history. By the time he was a teenager, he had earned millions. But when he reached adulthood, Jackie discovered that his mother and stepfather had spent nearly all of his fortune. They claimed he had simply been having fun and wasn't entitled to the money. The legal battle that followed led to the creation of the Coogan Law, designed to protect future child actors' earnings. Though Jackie eventually found work again, most notably as Uncle Fester on The Addams Family, his early betrayal left a lasting impact, making his story a landmark tragedy in Hollywood history. Natalie Wood began acting at just 4 years old and became a beloved star with roles in Miracle on 34th Street and Rebel Without a Cause. Growing up on screen, she faced intense pressure to maintain a perfect image while privately struggling with trauma. Wood later spoke about being sexually assaulted by a powerful Hollywood figure as a teenager, though she never named him publicly. Her adult career thrived, but her personal life remained troubled, marked by anxiety and a fear of deep water. In 1981, during a boating trip with husband Robert Wagner and actor Christopher Walken, she drowned under mysterious circumstances. Her death at 43 remains unsolved and continues to spark speculation, adding a tragic layer to her already complex legacy. These stories highlight the emotional and financial exploitation, psychological trauma, and lack of protections that many child stars faced. Would you like a version of this formatted as a blog post, video script, or something else?